buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, it's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one lives countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Canada Live right here on WCY.TV. Best little radio network on the internet, bar none. Best chat room, too. Anyways, this is the 11th of February, 2016, and I actually have no idea what I'm going to talk about tonight. So if someone has something they want to talk about, shoot it into the chat or call in at, what's the call-in line here? It is, where'd it go? 718-717-8296. In the meantime, where's this story? Where'd it go? Okay, this story I saw, this is, I'm not sure what day this was, this way back, January 28th. But this is just another case of how they spell the news out to you, and it really irritates the hell out of me, actually. And this is the Cohen guy, or Con, Chon. I guess it must be Con, which is a good name for a reporter in the Toronto Star. Con man, a con writer, He writes a lot of stories, and I call them stories because they're not actually news. He's a fantasy writer, a fiction writer, pretending he's actually writing real news, which he's not. Anyways, this is about hydro again, or hydro bills. We had, Ontario, Canada was noted worldwide for having probably the best electrical system on the planet. We had extraordinarily low rates, which gave our industrial sector a advantage over other sectors who were paying higher hydro rates. And if you're into heavy industrial stuff like steel mills or building automobiles and that, excuse me, low hydro rates is a good idea. So again, they brought in Morris Strong, godson of Bob Ray, way back in the 90s, and we've now lost complete control of our hydro system, which used to be, it was set up for the benefit of the people and the manufacturers. And now we don't have many manufacturers left, and the people are being robbed blind as our system has been privatized. Each step they made, it was because it would be, administrated better. It would be more competitive. It would be, just all the good things people want to hear. And they did that after they spent years bastardizing the hydro system as in debt, and inefficient, and all the things that people say, oh, well, that's terrible. And these guys, Morris Strong, is going to come and fix it. Wonderful, hot damn. All propaganda all the time. And guys like Khan here write this garbage, which convinces the poor, unsuspecting reader, I suppose, that they're actually reading news and that these people actually are telling you the truth when they're only set up to rob you blind. Anyways, real quick on this one, it says here nothing at, excuse me, the gist of this basically is it goes back to the folks that started the United Nations and started the wars, who want complete and total control over all resources, put it into a trust, and then that ties into your universal human rights, and you're not a human, you're a man or a woman, you aren't a human. If somebody calls you human, explain it to them, please. Just explain it to them. A human is an animal. You wonder why you're getting treated like an animal or a bag of garbage? Because they class you as an animal. You're just a stupid animal, okay? And you are assets of the corporation, and they deal with you as they want. So you're nothing more than a bunch of chickens housed in an industrial chicken house, or a bunch of milking cows slammed in there, or a bunch of caged hogs, or whatever you want to pick that these other animals, these humans, run around and complain about the treatment of these animals, not realizing that they are also classed as animals, okay? And you're going to be housed along the railway track, and you're going to be penned in, and you're going to be fed what they want to feed you. They will come up with the proper feed for you, and so on and so forth. So be a man, be a woman, and refuse to accept the idea that you're a human. If somebody calls you human, explain it to them, please. Okay, that's one of the things we can do without irritating anybody or getting into this conspiracy thing, which tends to freak people out. Just explain that one simple thing to them, that they're not a human, right? And let them work on that for a while. Anyways, back to this electricity bill. Nothing electrifies ratepayers like their electric bills, and nothing gets a rise out of readers like columnists writing about rising hydro costs. The divided email responses to a couple of recent columns mirrors the province's electricity polarity. Positive and negative electrical charges repelling one another like partisan force fields. Oh, isn't that a crafty little sentence? More power to readers in the form of yet another column herewith on the mysteries of power generation. There's no mystery about power generation, right? There's no mystery about it. We've been making electricity for an awful long time now. The mystery is, why won't the media report on the fraud that's taken place? That's the mystery. Anyways. Information is power, but bumper sticker solutions still get people charged up. When a politician claims all you have to do is fill in the blank to get prices under control, you'd best unplug their pitch. Based on an unscientific sampling from email in my email box, these are some of the hot button issues for readers. Critics keep complaining that Quebecers and Manitobans have better rates. Well, housing prices are also lower in Winnipeg and equally irrelevant to Toronto's real estate market. The topography of Manitoba and hydrography of Quebec can't be replicated in Ontario, where the waters don't flow with the same hydro-friendly forces. Okay, so that's an excuse. Let's see what else we got here. Smart meters aren't perfect, which is why critics call them dumb. They haven't been rolled out well, and they are operating far from potential. But they allow utilities now and in the future to implement peak pricing and discounts that can reduce the need to build new and expensive electricity capacity. They are costly up front, but will ultimately conserve energy, which is undeniably a good thing in the era of global warming and carbon pricing. Okay, that's come from, either an NGO group or an idiot. Let's see what else we got. The government's energy vision missed the mark. No kidding. but they didn't have a mark. Okay, they were told to put in renewable energy out of the United Nations. They signed on to these stupid treaties. Okay, and so they do as they're told, like little children, little stupid children. These are supposed to be your political leaders. They have the capacity of probably not more than a 10 or 12-year-old. These are really stupid people that are running your countries and your provinces and your townships and your municipalities. These are really stupid people. Or they wouldn't put up with this nonsense. And if they weren't stupid, they would inform their fellow people what the hell's going on. Anyways, the vision missed the mark, as Auditor General Bonnie Lysyk noted with hindsight in her annual report. Depressed demand and an overstimulated supply produced a glut. My critique of her report for misleadingly proclaiming $37 billion in overspending beyond the market price in recent years sparked a rebuttal from Liz that was conspicuously silent on the key point. The so-called market price she cites is merely an hourly spot price which can't be counted on to secure electricity when it's needed in the future, just as the last-minute club can't guarantee you a seat on the spring break. Now, you notice all of these stories move away from the story, you know? What does a spring break seat on a plane got to do with your electricity prices? What does all this nonsense about global warming and carbon pricing have to do? What does Manitoba or Quebec have to do with Ontario? Absolutely freaking nothing. None of it. Okay, here's another one. Let's see. Here's another one on the auditor. The auditor makes light of the fact that Ontario sometimes sells surplus power below cost at off-peak times. But that's a little different from airline seat sales. Okay, there's somebody's responding to the last one during low season. It's not catastrophic mismanagement, merely common sense to hold the occasional sale in order to recoup fixed costs, whether or not it's an empty seat, overripe fruit, or surplus power. Nor should a temporary oversupply prompt us to abandon energy conservation, which was implied in the auditor's analysis describing such efforts as a waste of money. Well, first of all, you cannot conserve electricity, okay? That's a given. That's an accepted fact. You cannot conserve energy, okay? You can produce less energy. You can use it, because that's all there is electricity. You produce it, use it, you produce it, you don't use it, or you don't produce it. Take your pick. But you can't conserve the stuff, okay? This all goes back to the United Nations. Actually, it's actually in the video from 1972, for crying out loud, with Morris Strong and David Rockefeller and a bunch of other nutcases. And in that, they say electricity's too cheap. Okay, so the whole point is conserving through price point increases. Okay, it's not about conservation, it's about forcing you to use less of what you need because you can't bloody well afford to use it. So it's not conservation. And these clowns that keep running around, well, I'm conserving energy. No, you're not conserving energy. Okay, let's go to the next one. That's not to say the Liberals don't overdo their love affair with renewables, eternally unrequired. The wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't always shine when you need the power, really. Surprise, surprise. That's hardly a new fact. I mean, this was known. The studies were done long before they ever put the first frickin' windmill up here. And categorically, it came out from the engineers in that the power is being produced at the wrong time of year, wrong time of day, and so on and so forth. So it's not some kind of mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing, and that is to destroy the industrial nations. Okay, and one of the easiest ways to destroy the industrial nations is drive the price of power through the ceiling so that the manufacturers leave the industrial countries and head for the east, where the guys who brought us the renewable energy and that have set up their factories and then ship the stuff back to us, right? It's all about power, but not electrical power. It's all about financial power. Anyways, the stealth privatization of our system by the Liberals exasperated the political and fiscal cost of relocating those unpopular gas-fired power plants, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, we get down to the bottom here. This is what gets interesting. Let's see. Rates today reflect the true cost of choices we have made as a province and as a society. Bull crap. Okay? This was sent down the pipe from you from the UN, the IMF, the World Bank, the IEA, all of these criminals who started World War II in order to get the UN in place. And so to say that rates today reflect the true cost of choices we have made as a province, well, maybe that's true. I guess that line is true because it says rates today reflect the true cost of choices we have made as a province. Well, the province is a corporation, so these are choices the corporation has made. And as a society, okay? Now, nobody in this province would have said, "Oh boy, put us on a minute scale like they did with Enron, so that they can bounce the prices around any way they want." Nobody voted for that. Nobody voted for any of this stuff. But they blamed the people. Well, it's the choice you made. But then that came through the propaganda again. 1,600 people every year in Ontario die from coal plant emissions. They played that for years. Now, they have no data on it. I mean, I know no one who has died as a direct result of the emissions from the coal plants in Ontario. Nobody. I don't know any data exists on that. But they just pump that crap out. And people go, "Oh my God, we got to close the coal plants. People are dying all around us." Problem, reaction, solution. What's the solution? Green energy. Free, reliable green energy for all. Oh, well, if we got that, shut the coal plants down then. Total load of bunk. The reality is that rising bills are a combination of mix-ups and messed up policies that have conspired against ratepayers not just over the last decade, but every decade before. Price hikes can't be blamed solely on bungling and boondoggles. They are also a result of our own societal choices, backed by all three parties to eliminate coal-fired power plants. Okay, so it started with the NDP and Morris Strong. That was who was brought in to reinvigorate, to change, to bring competition to our hydro system. All lies. And then the Conservatives and then the Liberals, all following the same plan. They all bitched about each other when whoever was in power was doing whatever they were doing with electricity. They would sit there and babble away when in opposition. But when they get into power, they just carry on with the template that comes out of the UN and the boys that set it up, and to enrich themselves and to enslave you ever further and to bankrupt you if at all possible. Anyways, having spoken to the senior policy advisor for the Ministry of Energy, getting on quite a while ago now, it's got to be, 8 years ago now? When we discussed this, and I explained the engineering papers I'd read and the engineers I've talked to that wrote the papers, and they said this will not work, and it hasn't worked. And then when I asked the senior policy advisor on the matter, he explained to me that what I was talking about as far as putting the scrubbers on the coal plants and yada, 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 was called sound engineering. What's taking place here is called politics, okay? But it's not internal politics. It's not politics of the people. It's not politics of those so-called people that were elected, even though that's impossible. No, this is overseas UN directives that our politicians are following and then turning around and saying that this is what we wanted. What a crock of shit. I mean, this is Enron's all over this thing, okay? They did this in Alberta. They did it right across this country. As Enron was actually imploding in front of everybody's eyes after the big hoo-ha in California, okay? Well, all that was going on. Our Minister of Finance, or Minister of Energy, was being flown down to Houston, Texas, to visit with Ken Lay, so that they could bring that crap in here, and no media ever reported upon it. So this is the real kicker. We may not like the higher prices, but we get the hydro we more or less deserve, or that we inherited from Mother Nature. Bumper stickers can't change that, okay? So we may not like the higher prices, but we get the hydro we more or less deserve, okay? And that means that you're going to get less because you deserve less, okay? And in order to force you to have less, they're going to keep cracking the price up, okay? So they're telling you straight in your face that you get the hydro you more or less deserve. How pathetic a statement is that? And so Martin Reg Cons, I'm just going to call it Cons, Ontario Politics column appears Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So if you want to read a fantasy writer, and they're all fantasy writers, every single freaking one of them, they're all pathetic. They get paid to lie to you. They are the whores of the rich men, the prostitutes of the rich men, and there's no getting around that one. So we suffer needlessly as we are being destroyed from the inside. Not real bright, but that's where we are, and people are starting to catch on, which is always good, and anyways, I don't know what else to talk about here. Let's see. Is there anything in here we can find? Now, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I saw some stuff last night about Oregon again. And I don't know what there is, 4 guys in that building or something that were holed out there or holed up there. And that the feds had got the place surrounded, and yada yada yada. Now, I'm kind of a logical thinker, and when the boys went up there to Oregon, it kind of left me scratching my head a bit. Now, don't get me wrong; I appreciate what they did, but I don't think they thought it through. I understand how frustrated these ranchers are in that. I get that. I got a bank breathing down my neck here now, like there's no tomorrow, and I'm trying to deal with these people, and it's like talking to a box of rocks. I mean, these people are really stupid, but. And they're immoral as hell, right? The municipality's mad at me. The police are mad at me. Now my financial institution's mad at me. The churches around here are mad at me. I think my wife's the only one that's not too mad at me. But she understands what's getting done here. But this is when they jump on you and heap on you and try to, they just want you to submit, right? That's all they want, just submit. I don't know how to submit. Never did know. Never did learn that one. But the Bundys and the boys, the Hammonds and all that. I appreciate what they thought they were doing, but when you look at it logically, even back when they first were headed that direction, one has to ask themselves now, why would you go and take over some stupid ass little federal building actually in the middle of nowhere? For what purpose? And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to raise awareness, and my hat's off to them for that. There's been, a fair bit of stuff online about, about the gentleman being shot and about the actions of the FBI and the BLM. I get all that stuff, and in that sense, it's positive. It's unfortunate someone had to lose their life over it, the Bundy standoff, I guess, was it went well, and I guess they're going to try and do a replay of it. But that's what they want you to do. I'm serious. That's what they want you to do. And then they go to work on it, and they try to spin it like these guys are domestic terrorists and all that kind of stuff. And the average man or woman walking around in North America today really is putty in their hands. They can tell them just about anything, and they'll believe it. The media can tell them just about anything, and they'll go with it. And that's unfortunate because that gives those in power who really should not be in power and are abusing their power, and they really don't have any power at what they're doing, but they're all tied into this Agenda 21, 2030, whatever you want to call it. And they're pushing, right? I mean, the 1972 conference on what was it called? Human habitat or whatever it was. States specifically what's not sustainable, and that's private property. Okay. So what's going on out there with the BLM? These are basically UN international agencies who are they're into the rewilding program, and they want to run everybody off the land. There's not going to be any ranchers. They're going to push them off, just like they did with the farmers back in the 70s and 80s. Push them all off the land into the cities. Now they've pushed them into the cities. A lot of them don't have work there either. So it's what they do. But they're not your government, and they're not your government people. Okay, this is strictly corporate actions. Why would your government, who is supposed to look out, for the people, be running ranchers off the land? Okay, they wouldn't be doing it. And, we all know that the federal government, the D.C., is 10 square miles. That's their piece of land. So what are they doing running around in Oregon chasing farmers off the land? Good question. What they're doing is absolutely illegal and unlawful. And but it's about the global program or the global agenda. So, I don't know. I can't get in the head of these guys, like these FBI guys and the BLM guys and some of these sheriffs and that, who once told still don't, push back. I don't get that. This is your family's future. So, I wish everybody well up in Oregon. I hope the guys that are holed up there right now, and I haven't looked that day. I just got home before the show, so I didn't really have a chance to look that day. I hope there's no shootout there, and I hope nobody else gets killed. Total waste of lives and time, and it just gives the media more hoo-ha. Now, the reason I brought that up was that I got a call from a friend of mine last night who managed to get 2 OPP officers charged with assault causing bodily harm. Now, that isn't easy. Okay, that is definitely not easy. The lawyer he's using, who was in Florida at the time this happened, said that in his 35 or 40 years as a lawyer, he'd never seen any individual be able to pull this off the way Enos did, because it's not an easy process, okay? Because the judiciary is protecting each other. You know, they say they're independent. There's nothing independent about them. They are part of the corporation. The police are a corporation. The judges are a corporation. The courts are a corporation. And, it's like a brotherhood, in the hood. And Enos went and saw the justice and presented his situation. And the justice thought it had enough merit to move it forward. So summons were issued, and Enos delivered the summons. But then that's where it gets tricky, because once that happens, even though the justice says there's enough to bring it forward, here's the summons, away you go, you would think that goes into court at that point. But it doesn't. It goes to a pre-conference hearing, of which we have an attorney, or a Crown attorney, a judge, and the one that brought the charges. And that's when the Crown attorney does everything in his power to get these charges dismissed. Okay? And that's the whole idea. That's the protection racket that they have. And luckily, Enos went to the hospital after he was assaulted, and got pictures taken and testimony from the doctor. And without that, they would have ended up throwing that out of court. I'm absolutely sure it would never been set to move forward. So now it's set to move forward. I think they're back in court November the 10th. The police were supposed to be in the court, but they didn't show up. They were summoned to court for the day that they had the pre-con, but they didn't show up. And, hats off to the judge for telling the Crown attorney that if they don't show up on the 10th, then there will be bench warrants sent out for those 2 police officers. Now, the story didn't hit the media. It hasn't been in the local papers yet. It's been on a couple of small radio stations, but the police, who are supposed to send out their police reports, activity reports, of accident reports, arrest reports, and that, did not send this information out to the media. And they're supposed to, but they didn't. It's called the Brotherhood. And they protect each other. Now, the stuff that did get put in the media is so skewed it's ridiculous. They put Enos up as the bad guy and the police up as the good guys. And that's unfortunate. So when Enos called me last night, he was just really upset. They've been trying to get full disclosures since the raid on Michael Schmidt's milk farm way back in October, I think it was. So now he finally got some more disclosure. They've been fighting for this for a long, long time. And they have Enos as a person to be wary of, a man who is violent, a man who has weapons. Please approach with caution or don't approach, and so on and so forth. And he was some upset last night. He's a farmer, young farmer. He's 32, I think, young farmer, working his tail off on 3 farms, and has a wife and 4 kids. And he's just livid. He said, "What?" He says, "They got a file on me in what, CSIS or some stupid thing, or some outfit." I haven't seen the email. I was hoping to get that tonight, so I could look at it. But he went through it roughly last night, and they have him basically pegged as a domestic terrorist. He said, "I have never harmed anybody in my life." how is it that they have me nailed like this? Well, because they're trying to intimidate you, basically. They don't like that you brought the charges against the officers. They don't like the fact that the judge said that they're coming to court, and they're used to getting away with this stuff. And all of a sudden, they're on the hot seat, and they ain't happy about it. So they put this stuff out to intimidate, and so now Enos, the husband and father of 4 children, a farmer in rural Ontario of all places, has been centered out as a domestic terrorist, even though he's never harmed anybody, never terrorized anything, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna see what we can do about that as well. And with the thing that's going on over in Oregon, he goes, what the hell's going on? What are they doing to us? Well, you think differently, okay, than average Tim Horton sucking, TV watching, pizza eating goomer does, right? You're a hard working thinking man, and you see what's going on, and you don't like it, and you don't like being abused, so you call them on it, and now they turn on you. The media's turned on you. The police, he's afraid now. He told me last night, I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. Are they going to come busting through my door and start whacking everybody with tasers, or what the hell's going on here? So it's a bit of an eye-opener, but he's not going to back down. He had no intention of hurting anybody, but his thing is, when are they going to stop hurting me? Well, when you submit. Okay? When you submit, everything will be fine. But if you don't submit, they will continue this nonsense, okay? Hoping to push you, okay? Hoping to get you to do something stupid so that they can blow this all over the media to justify what it is they're up to, okay? The ever tightening down and the ever increasing force of the police. And so we had a long chat about that, and that is just chill out, okay? Relax. They're just putting noise in your head, trying to intimidate you, trying to freak you out, and hopefully you will do something silly, of which you're not going to do. So don't worry about it, okay? Because this will all come bite them in the ass sooner or later. And it's unfortunate that these sort of things happen. I mean, we're in rural Ontario. I mean, this is highly not what you'd call a high crime area. It's not largely populated. The towns are small. The biggest center we have here within 50 miles is 20,000 people. The rest of them all average between between 1,200 and 7,500 people. So it's not like it's a place that's high crime. But the police are getting crazier all the time. They're being militarized. Even in these small towns, they're being militarized. You can smell it. You can see it. And that's unfortunate. But this is all about the globalist UN concoction called community policing. Okay? They're all about protecting the community. Now, they need to center certain people out so they can justify their existence and their high paychecks. And to further frighten people, oh my goodness, see, we saved you again. Aren't we wonderful? It's unfortunate, but that's what happens here. Now, we actually had an incident here some years back where Farmer George was in court and he refused to play this stupid name game. And the first time, I think he was in jail for 12 or 16 days. The second time was 165 days. He spent 165 days. Another farmer, organic farmer, spent 165 days in jail, and they're trying to break him. They couldn't, and they eventually had to let him out and let him sign his name any damn way he wanted to. And but during all that trial stuff, that court stuff, George owning 6 farms. Right on the edge of Owen Sound, which is the largest community here in this area, of 20,000, 22,000 people. His 6 farms end right at the edge of town, and they would very much like to get their paws on it. So he's been ragged over big time for a long time, and they have him nailed as a free man. That's the deal they used, a free man. So a lot of people came up from different places to show their support when he was in court. So they were staying at one of the farms that weren't being used for anything. There was a little, like a house there. And so people moved in there, and they were camping in the yard and whatnot. And the police actually went to the court and told the court that they thought they were fearful for their safety if they had to go into this farm, that because these people are free men, which they weren't, they were just people that come up to support George. And the most peaceable people you would ever want to meet. I mean, these people were to me, they were almost too peaceable. But they were just there for quiet support. And the police actually went to the court and said that if they have to go in there, they're fearful for their lives. Why are police so fearful all the time? I mean, if I was packing the gear they're packing, I don't think I would be afraid of nothing. But these police are all fearful. I was fearful of that 8-year-old boy, so I shot him dead. I was fearful of that poodle, so I shot it dead. People this fearful shouldn't be carrying guns because, it makes them dangerous. But anyways, the police went to the courthouse and they got permission. They actually got permission in rural Ontario that if they went into that farm and they felt unsafe or threatened or fearful, that they had the right to shoot these people. We're talking kumbaya kind of people. But the police were fearful of them because they're free men. And when you asked a cop, because they tried to peg me with that for a long time, and, I said, what the hell is a free man? Can you tell me what a free man is? Because logically and in the legal system, a free man is a citizen. Okay? The citizens of Rome were considered free men. Okay? And they got to enjoy the freedoms that citizenship brought. So what is this free man you guys are talking about? And the cops are ludicrous, right? I don't even know. I sometimes try to pretend I'm in a meeting with the sergeant or the chief or something. They're having some kind of a meeting in the police station or something on how they're going to operate and to be watchful for these free men. You can tell them because they talk differently. They have different ideas about what law is. They just studied a little bit and read some stuff. And you, the cop, didn't read anything, and you're as stupid as a box of rocks. So when your superior tells you to look out for a free man, it would be like talking to a bunch of, semi-mentally deficient people, I guess, or children. Today, class, we're going to talk about free men on the land and how dangerous they are, and they don't wish to respect the laws of the corporation, and they're very, very dangerous. So beware of them. And the cops are going, oh yeah, we got to worry about these free men. And what is a free man? So I asked them, and they tell me that a free man is someone who thinks differently. They actually said that. I'm standing on the side of the road with like 6 cruisers and a whole swack of cops. And I'm going, so a free man is someone who thinks differently to what? Well, to other people. Well, how do other people think that the free man doesn't think the same? Maybe these so-called free men actually think. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not that they think differently, it's just the fact that they think. when most of the population is incapacitated to the point mentally where they can't think. They can be told things and led around by the nose, and they can be propagandized, and they can be advertised, and they can be commercialized, and they just taught along. So maybe it's not about thinking differently at all. Maybe it's just about thinking. So now it's against the law to think. And that's sad, you know. And the cops on the side of the road there, they're saying, well, you don't believe in the law. I said, well, actually, that's incorrect. I'm a big fan of the law, but this, what we're doing here today, has nothing whatsoever to do with law. Well, you're anti-government. Well, not really. I believe we need some kind of an administrative body, but it has to be, you know, for the people and by the people and controlled by the people. This one is not. Simply a corporation pretending to be a government of and by the people. You know, so I actually, you know, I don't get, a lot of these guys get, you know, they get pulled over, they get right rangy, eh? They're looking for a scrap. That's just plain stupid, right? I mean, if you're that dumb, you deserve to get chucked in jail. You know, I know my rights, you can't tell me what to do, I'm a free man on the land, you dumbass, I'm a sovereign. Well, you got to understand, the average cop wouldn't have a clue what you just told them. They have no capacity to understand what you're saying. So what they're hearing from you is, cop, you're an idiot, you're a stupid pig, you know, die, swine, you know, and so on and forth. And it gets them irritated, okay? And you know, it doesn't take, it's not a very bright man that would stand in front of a bunch of cops and irritate the snot out of them, they'll get shit beat out of them and dragged to jail. That is not a smart man. Okay? And then when they got you in jail, they're all happy. We got one of them there, free man, boss. Yeah, you did too, Jimmy. That's good. You got a free man. Look at the way he thinks different, doesn't he? He thinks different. Damn free men anyway. Oh, wipe them side. Domestic terrorists, you know, I bet you. Good thing you hauled him in here. He could have blown something up, caused all kinds of commotion. This is the, you know, we got to change the way we go about doing things. You know, this is get yourself into education mode, knowledge mode, right? You know, now I've been assaulted by the police several times. Nothing what I would call vicious. They usually tend to handle me with kid gloves. You know, and I've poked them back, and never got arrested. You know, I had a cop threatening to arrest me out in front of my house, and I just showed him how indignant I was about it, and I told him to get in his car and get lost. I ended up giving him a poke, and that straight finger in the shoulder, right in that soft spot there, and his eyes popped. And did he get all upset and taser me and arrest me? No, he eventually, when the pain stopped, got in his car and drove away. And like I told him, don't ever come back here, and he never has. So, you know, it all depends how you approach it and how you do what you do when you do it. But you have to use your noggin, right? You have to think a little bit, and you have to understand the situation you're in at the time and act accordingly. And you will find it works out for you much, much better. Anyways, it's unfortunate this stuff goes on. It's unfortunate that a man can't milk his cow, and that I can't drink the milk from the cow that he milked. It seems rather ludicrous. It is ludicrous. You know, to drink milk from the cow is illegal. And just like Mary Jane there was illegal, way back from the 30s on, you know, if you smoked weed, you would become a crazed killer or suicidal. But whatever it is, you're gonna freak out, man. You're gonna be freaked right out, and that's why they banned it. Now, the very government that banned it and threw hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in jail for a harmless crime, which isn't a crime, all of a sudden the very governments that made weed illegal are all their politician friends and corporate friends are getting into the growing of weed to profit from it. But it's still illegal for you to grow it. Think about that. The government had said that you can't be anywhere. You got a joint. I mean, I grew up in a time where you got a joint you could get some serious time for. Now those same people are growing it and selling it at a profit and then taxing people on it to make more profit. But you still can't grow it. Okay, and that's what they did during Prohibition. It's called monopolization. Okay, and that's what it is. It's monopolies. And they say, well, they're government monopolies for the benefit of the people. No. How can it possibly be? The government's a corporation. So these are monopolies to benefit the monopoly, of which they have the monopoly on force. This is much better than the mafia, okay, because somehow it's legal mafia. That's the only difference. We have legal mafia and mafia. I don't know, I'm starting to think I trust the mafia more. I mean, at least they have some sort of a sense of fairness and some sorts of keeping their word for the most part in that, right? They say what they mean and they mean what they say. They don't trip around with a bunch of nonsensical legalese. And, so actually they may be better at governing than these clowns that we so-called elect to govern us. So maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need mafioso running the joint instead of these so-called elected officials. But it's really sad. It's really, really sad. I have seen so many lives destroyed in this province unnecessarily for profit via the government. And that's really sickening, And what is the government? The government is the money system and the lawyers. That's all your government is. Okay? That's who controls the government. Who is the government? The bankers and the lawyers. How can an association, a private association called the bar, be in charge of writing all the laws? How is that possible? It's like me if I want to go and brick my own house. And the Association of Bricklayers have the express right to bricks and stone. And they make the rules. And if I go to brick my own house, well, then I'll be charged for practicing bricklaying without a license. Just like the bar has, it's illegal to practice law without a license. What the hell does that mean? I mean, how ludicrous is that? And besides, the lawyers aren't practicing law. And if they were practicing law, well, why do you have a license? If you're practicing, obviously you haven't passed the last test to get the license. You just have your learner's permit like when you first start driving. Okay, you don't have your full license yet. But these guys have control over all of the legalese, all the wording that goes into these laws. And if you look at any cabinet of any government, basically anywhere in the world, you will find that in the legislature, then they have the cabinet. Who makes up the cabinet for the most part? Lawyers. So you're governed by lawyers. The lawyers write the rules and the policy. They write the legalese. The bankers, insurance companies, I don't want to forget the insurance companies, line up at the trough and they make new laws that bleed you. Okay? They don't want to kill you off completely because you're their source. Okay? just like a tick on a dog's back, right? They just slowly suck it on you. They don't want to quite wipe you out. They want to keep you just weak enough that you can't fight them off and alive enough that they can continue to feed on you. And we call this our government. Now, I'm not really directing. I don't even know how to do these shows anymore because the people that I talk to here pretty much get it, So it's like preaching to the choir almost. What we need to do is branch this out so that we're talking to people that don't get it. That's who we need to bring into these shows, the people who don't get it. Somehow, and I'm not sure how. We can't really tie them up and put a set of headphones on them or turn it up or something for them to hear it. So I'm not exactly sure where to go from here. We keep talking, teaching, and shining the light. And hopefully the light is getting out there. I mean, things have changed considerably since I started this a long time ago. I don't want to get down on people. It gets a little frustrating from time to time, but if people can learn how to comprehend what they read, actually, I encourage people not to put your money down to pick up a newspaper. That's just foolish. But I mean, you can read all this stuff online, so you can still read the headlines or read a story or whatever. But I think the big part is for people to be able to comprehend what they're actually reading and why things are written, the way they're written, and the words that are used, and the phrases that are used in that, so that when they read something, they actually understand what the hell they just read. I think that would go a long, long way to help people understand what's actually taking place right in front of their faces. I think that would be a good idea. Maybe we should all start a school. Maybe we should start schools in our neighborhoods. Bring in some people that are qualified to teach, which really isn't much of a qualification. I mean, if you can communicate with somebody else, you're a teacher, or you can be a teacher. You don't need some kind of certificate on the wall, because all of these teachers that are teaching now have certificates, and they're clueless enough to believe that what they're teaching is real somehow, or they wouldn't be teaching it. So, these people with a certificate that are teachers are not teachers. Okay, they just regurgitate what they're told to regurgitate, with no thought process whatsoever going on in there. Because if they did have a thought process, they'd be asking some serious friggin' questions. And they don't. Just go along to get along. Well, then the teaching profession is a very, very strange, no, it's not a strange profession, but it is the one profession that can do the most damage. Okay? And they damage people constantly. Nothing I was taught in school except math and how to spell was really, and everything else. I mean, and we learned that early. We learned that very early in school. After that, pretty much anything we learned was just propaganda to coerce us into believing and doing things that if we had the knowledge, the proper knowledge, we would have never accepted. So if you're a teacher out there, get your act together. Anyways, I hear music. So I'm going to be back here on, not here on Revolution Saturday night, broadcast out here, 10 to 12. And I'm going to see if I can't get Mike Smith or Venus on here to tune in a little bit more what's going on. And it's going on in rural areas everywhere. It's not just here. So, the global, right? Anyways, everybody take care. And I'm tired. Bye.